Yuma Frugalistas, and welcome. Today I have a special guest, and of course, all of my guests are special. Today's guest is someone who has a message about creating wealth beyond money. But first, I have a favour to ask of you. If you enjoy this podcast and find it useful for you, please pay it forward by sharing with a friend. And even better, please follow the Joyful Frugalista podcast. Emma Lagerlow is a wealth and mindset coach. She helps people create fulfilling, purpose-driven lives by aligning financial empowerment with self-worth, well-being, and time freedom. Emma is the author of Worthy and Wealthy, Discovering Abundance and Fulfillment Beyond Money. We've got matching copies, I know, thank you for sending it, which guides readers through the 5 pillars of a truly wealthy life. Welcome, Emma, and big congratulations on your book.
Thank you so much, Serena. It's so great to be here on your show, and I've long admired you as well. We were just talking before that I bought your book many, many years ago, and it's still sitting on my bookshelf, and obviously, yeah, it just spoke to me, and it was a great read. So, yeah, it's just lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm always amazed as an author how many people, you do influence without realizing it. And I'm sure you're going to find the same with your book too. You meet these random people, and I'm not saying you're random, but you meet all sorts of people who suddenly go, oh, that really helped me at a time in my life where I needed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding with my book already, and it's just people just coming out of the woodwork and saying your book is amazing, or they're sharing it on their stories, and just knowing that you're having that little bit of impact on people to hopefully improve their lives is just such a heartwarming and fulfilling feeling.
Yeah, most definitely. And certainly when I was single, I think I was about a year or two out, I did work with a life coach who really helped. And actually, I really owe her the whole focus on the frugal journey because it wasn't even something that was on my radar at the time. If you'd asked me before I'd sort of worked with her, I was really heading in quite a different direction. And then she challenged me to stop and think about, what my purpose was and where I was headed. And it actually came up with this. It was quite a surprising detour, but a really good one.
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful you did, because I loved even like the joyful frugalista, because frugal can have these connotations about it, isn't it? That you're sort of squirreling things away and you're always looking for a good deal. But the joyful, I think that's just where I was like, oh, I feel like that's me. I'm joyful, I spend intentionally. I'm not looking for a good deal, but I'm not trying to cheat people or steal money away or not spend any money on anything. You don't want to be cheap, but yeah, you still, I think it's just about being sort of grounded in how you spend your money.
Yeah, exactly. And back in, like I wrote it in 2018, it was published in early 2019. And back then, pre the pandemic, pre the cost of living crisis, I think a lot of people thought I was a bit nuts. Like some people got it, but some people didn't. But I got a lot of questions, especially from the media, mainly about whether I was depriving my children or not. Spoiler alert, we're comfortably middle class, they do fine. Um, More than fine. And I never struggle paying for essentials like school camps or school supplies, which to me are the more important things in any case. But it is really interesting how things have changed so quickly.
Definitely. Well, yeah, the cost of living, I think, it's now just so top of mind. It means you can't ignore it because it is just everywhere you go. You're just seeing that you go to the grocery store and the prices have gone up. I mean, the price of fuel and all of those things. And so we're really forced, I think, to be a bit more conscious of where we're spending our money, because potentially it's not going as far as it was before anyway. So I think, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I must have bought it, I think, before the pandemic. So I was already on, your sort of trajectory in some ways. But I do believe that now it's so much more prevalent that people are really being more conscious of where their money's going.
Yeah, most definitely. And you talk a lot in your book about money and actually living beyond just frugality and having greater richness. But let's start with a fictional character that you have, a lady called Jules. So what's Jules's story?
Yes, Jules. So everyone really loves Jules, and I'm so glad I did put her in there. I mean, I wanted to write a fiction book when I was like all for forever. And so I'm loving that I've sort of pulled a little bit of fiction into my book. But Jules, there's elements of me without a doubt in Jules, and me, I think, pre-pandemic Emma, in some ways, that was living sort of life on autopilot and just didn't have a great deal of awareness about who she really was, I suppose. And so was sort of living in, the lines of what society, expected. I need to be working and I need to be doing these sort of things, but feeling dissatisfied because not really following her true purpose, I suppose. And so it follows her feeling really just dissatisfied and not happy in general with life. There's a scene in the kitchen where one of her kids drops a glass of juice, and that's sort of like the catalyst where she lets out a primordial scream, and she's going to be late for a job that she hates anyway, and no one values her, and all of those things, and that's sort of like the catalyst, I think, for change, for her to start to look within to see who she really is, and then she can start to know what she really wants and how to get it. And so it follows her journey sort of along the pathway of exploring like the 5 pillars that I have of a truly wealthy life, which money is definitely really important, but it's not the be all and the end all, as you'll find out if you read the book.
No, I kind of related to that because she was in the Jules character was going through a breakup and was single parenting, was managing all those things and wanting to still provide for her children in a meaningful way, but it was just burning herself out in the process.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we can all resonate in some ways a little bit with Jules. And I think that's why people are really loving her, because they see a little bit of her in us, whether it is, just, not being happy at work, or splitting up from a relationship, or yelling at your kids when you really don't want to be, and why is this happening, and what can we do about it to head in a more positive direction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had an incident just even the night before last where my youngest went into the freezer and wasn't looking, and dropped something and it smashed all over the floor. It's shocking when that happens, but when you're calmer about it, you're in a calmer space to deal with that then too.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's why I wrote about it, because I have been in that situation where that has happened, and, blaming the kids, I'm going to be late, I'm going to lose my job, all of these things. And then hating on yourself for the rest of the day or the next few days because, you've acted irrationally. And then after I had implemented, some changes in my life of being more mindful and things like that, and a similar thing happened. And even today, I was making avocado toast, and a bit of avocado flicked on my outfit, and and I was like, normally I'd be like, oh my God. And instead I was just, got a wipe out and cleaned it up, and I was like, wow, I really, I am less reactive than I used to be in life. And it doesn't help to be, to fly off the handle about anything. So I think it sort of really supported me to sort of have this change of direction in my life, which I sort of channeled through Jules in my book.
Yeah, I can totally relate. And is avo toast, making it yourself, is that a bit of a frugal tip as well?
I was thinking about that when I was making it. I was thinking that that you would be proud of me that I was making my own avocado toast, because I do love it, but it's definitely cheaper than at the shop.
It's definitely cheaper at the shop. My youngest is the same one who dropped something the other day from the freezer, is massively into sourdough bread and baking. So yeah, definitely we save a lot on that. But I think this whole thing about, how we're reacting to things is a really good example, I guess, about scarcity and abundance mindset, and, how, being so fearful about not having money can make us do crazy things. I remember years ago, I just moved into the apartment we're in now, and I was worried about money, and so I wanted to rent out a room, which I did, but I was so worried about this that I was taking photos of the other bathroom to put online, and I dropped my phone and it cracked, and it cost several $100s to fix. So we all know what that's like, isn't it? So what is scarcity mindset? What is abundance mindset? How do we move through that?
Yeah, so it really is, it starts with awareness, I think, and it's really understanding what is like your mindset, because often these are beliefs that we've picked up from, our primary caregivers, and, the way we watch things happen in life, and we just believe it's true. So, your parents might have said money doesn't grow on trees, and that was always their excuse for, when you asked for something, or you didn't even ask because you knew that was going to be the case. And so
Oh
then
yeah,
you
that's
have,
even worse.
yeah. And so then you grow, you grow up just thinking it's hard to get, money's hard to come by, it doesn't grow on trees. We've got to work, really hard for it. Or, we do squirrel it away because, we're worried that it is going to, we're not going to have enough, I think. And so we've really got to look at that and unpack that a little bit to say, oh, what are our beliefs? Because I mean, that's just one money mindset that one person might have, and you could have elements of all. But then there's, burying your head in the sand, where, you just think, oh well, it'll be what it'll be. But I feel like even under that, there's an underlying anxiety of, is there really enough to make things work, and that type of thing. And then if we
Yeah.
get to the abundance mindset, I think it's more about sort of taking that aligned action to trust that there is actually enough. And so when you start to unpack those scarcity mindsets and things like that, then you can really look at it with more clarity and say, is that really true? It doesn't, money, yeah, it doesn't grow on trees. Like, we have to go out and earn it or invest. So then we earn money and things like that. And we're capable of being able to do that. And so then trusting in ourselves that we will find the money that we need to be able to live the way we want to, and hopefully that is in an abundant way. And yeah, then we will take those steps in to make that happen.
Look, I hear you with all of this. I still suffer from a bit of scarcity mindset
Mm.
myself, and you would think it doesn't matter, but it's like, oh, I better not invest because I might need, money, and if I invest and I lose it, it'll be bad. Or I have a friend of mine who had been homeless when she was a teenager, and she is still really driven by scarcity mindset, which is understandable. She had something very traumatic. But in her house for a long time, she actually had cans with dates on them. So she had left her job to have a startup, and she was so worried about not having enough food, she had dates for every month that she had enough cans to live on.
Wow. Wow, that's yeah, it is. And it really, I mean, a lot of it does, yeah, come back to even a trauma thing for some people, that if they have been through a trauma, and so then it's even unpacking, that and understanding it and looking at it with a clear sort of lens to realize like that happened then, but you're in such a different place now that, you go, it's, yeah, you don't need to hoard cans because you're going to be able to make it work.
Exactly, and you hold yourself back because you're too scared to say take new opportunities, take new jobs,